Growing up, I always knew Clara was the favorite. She was the star, the one who could do no wrong, while I was the responsible one, the fixer. It wasn't something overt, just a constant low-level hum of inequality. She got the new clothes, I got the hand-me-downs. She went on school trips abroad. I had to get a part-time job to buy my own textbooks. Our parents called it teaching me responsibility, but now I see it was just grooming me to be their financial mule. They were preparing me for my role as the family caretaker, the one who would sacrifice everything for their comfort and for her benefit. The real manipulation started when I was 22. My dad sat me down in the living room of that house, the one I thought would one day be partly mine. He spoke in that solemn voice he used when he wanted to sound profound, explaining that the mortgage was becoming a burden. He was nearing retirement, and my mother's health was fragile. He painted a picture of potential ruin, of losing, the home that held all our memories. He asked me, not Clara, to help. He said it was my duty as the strong one to step up and ensure the family's stability and future. He made it sound like a temporary arrangement, a joint effort. He proposed that I move back in, contribute a significant portion of my salary directly to the mortgage and household bills, and in return, the house would be left to both me and Clara, 50-50. It was an investment, he said, in my own future. I believed him completely. Why wouldn't I? He was my father. The idea of questioning his intentions felt like a betrayal, so I agreed without hesitation, filled with a sense of pride for being the one they could count on to save our family home. So, for the next 2 decades, that's what I did. I funneled my life into that house. My friends were buying their own places, traveling, building their own lives, and I was paying off a mortgage that wasn't mine. Every promotion I got at work didn't mean more freedom. For me, it meant I could finally afford to get the roof re-shingled or the plumbing fixed. My parents would praise my diligence, calling me the rock of the family. They made my sacrifice feel noble, like I was building a legacy for all of us, securing the foundation of our family for generations to come. Meanwhile, Clara was living a completely different life, a life I was indirectly funding. While I was budgeting for property taxes, she was backpacking through Europe. While I was spending my weekends fixing a leaky faucet, she was getting a degree in art history, fully funded by our parents. They'd tell me, Clara is finding herself. She needs this support. They never once suggested she contribute. It was my responsibility to handle the heavy, boring financial burdens, while her only job was to be brilliant and carefree, unburdened by the mundane reality of bills. The financial strain was immense. I gave up on my own dreams of starting a small business because every bit of my savings was a safety net for the house. A major repair, a sudden tax increase, it all came from my pocket. My parents would sigh and thank me, telling me how they couldn't have managed without me. They assured me time and time again that my investment was secure. When we're gone, this house will be your reward, yours and Clara's, my mother would say, patting my hand. It was a promise that kept me going through the toughest times. I remember one year the property taxes unexpectedly doubled. After a reassessment, I had to take out a personal loan to cover it. I didn't even tell them the full extent of the stress it caused me. I just quietly paid it. That same Christmas, they gave Clara a check for $10,000 to help her put a down payment on a new car. They presented it to her at the dinner table, and everyone clapped. I felt a knot in my stomach, but I smiled along with them, telling myself that my reward was long-term, that my sacrifice was for the family's foundation. The deceit ran deeper than I could have ever imagined. The lawyer showed me the paperwork today. The deed was transferred to Clara 8 years ago, a full 5 years before our mother passed away, and 7 before our father. This means for all those years while they were still alive, they were looking me in the eye, accepting my money, and assuring me of an inheritance they had already given away. They watched me pour my salary into a property that legally belonged to someone else, someone who never contributed a single dime. They didn't just let me pay the mortgage. I paid for the new boiler, the kitchen renovation, the landscaping. I have receipts totaling tens of thousands of dollars for major improvements I made to our house. All that money, all that work, was a direct financial gift to my sister, funneled through me under false pretenses. My parents weren't just favoring her. They were actively, deliberately using me to enrich her, to build her assets on the back of my labor and my lost opportunities. It was a long-term, meticulously executed financial deception. After our mother died, my father became even more dependent on me. I took over all the finances, managing his pension, paying his bills, and of course, continuing to pay for the house. He would often get weepy and emotional, telling me I was a saint, that I had saved him from poverty, and that my loyalty would be repaid in the end. He played the part of the grateful, aging father perfectly, all while knowing he had already signed away the very thing he promised me as my security and my future. When he passed away last year, I was the one who arranged everything. The funeral, the estate, sorting through a lifetime of possessions. Clara flew in for a week, cried beautifully at the service, and then left me to handle the mess. She told me to take my time selling the house, that she was in no rush. The phrasing was so casual, so innocent. Selling the house, as if it were a shared decision, a shared asset. She played her part just as well as they did, maintaining the illusion until the very last moment. It was only when I met with the estate lawyer to finally settle things that the truth came out. He had a look of pity on his face when he slid the deed across the table. He assumed I knew. This is just a formality, as the primary residence was already handled via the gift transfer to your sister, he said. I just stared at the paper. My sister's name, clear as day. The date of the transfer. The signatures of my parents. It felt like the floor had dropped out from beneath me and I was falling into a cold, dark void. The most sickening part is realizing how calculated it all was. They transferred the deed years before they passed away to avoid inheritance tax and to ensure it couldn't be contested as part of the will. They knew exactly what they were doing. They put on a performance for years, a charade of family unity and future promises, all to ensure their golden child was set for life and to ensure I would be the one to pay for it without ever realizing what was truly happening until it was far too late. After I left the lawyer's office, I drove to the house. I just sat in my car across the street, looking at it. The new roof I paid for in 2016, the garden I spent a whole summer landscaping, the windows I replaced just 3 years ago. It looked beautiful. It looked like a monument to my own stupidity, a testament to 20 years of my life, my money, and my dreams, all gifted to someone who didn't even have the decency to be honest with me. The feeling was a hollow, soul-crushing emptiness. I called Clara this afternoon. I was calm, strangely detached. I just asked her, "When were you going to tell me?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then she sighed, a weary, annoyed sound. "I was hoping you wouldn't have to find out like this," she said. Not that she was hoping to tell me, but that she was hoping the lawyer would break the news. Gently, there was no apology in her voice. No remorse, just inconvenience. She knew the entire time. She tried to justify it, of course. She said Mom and Dad were worried about me. They thought I was bad with money, me, the one who managed their entire household for 2 decades, and they believed Clara would be a better steward of the family's main asset. They wanted to protect the house, she said. Protect it from me. The only person who had ever done anything to protect it. The excuse was so absurd, so insulting, it was almost laughable. It was a lie designed to soothe a guilty conscience, not to explain the truth. The truth is, they saw me as a utility, a resource to be exploited. I wasn't a daughter to them in the same way she was. I was a tool to ensure her comfort and security. My own future, my own security, was never part of their equation. As long as their favorite was taken care of, any cost to me was acceptable. They raised me to be responsible so that I could carry the burden they didn't want to place on their precious, perfect daughter. My entire life has been a lie built on this foundation. I've spent the last few hours going through my old bank statements, tax returns, and receipts. I'm trying to calculate how much I actually spent. The mortgage payments alone are over $100,000. The repairs, the taxes, the insurance, it's staggering. I could have bought my own house twice over. I could have been building my own equity, my own future. Instead, I built hers. I'm 42 years old with barely any savings, living in a rented apartment, while my sister owns a $500,000 house, free and clear, that I paid for. The lawyer said my legal options are limited. Since I wasn't on the deed and there was no written contract, all the money I paid is legally considered rent or a gift to my parents. The verbal promises mean nothing. My parents and my sister executed the perfect financial trap, and I walked right into it. Blinded by love and a desperate need for their approval, they used my loyalty, my sense of duty, against me in the most brutal way possible. They didn't just break a promise, they stole my life. What do I do now? Where do I even start to rebuild? The anger is there, a burning fire in my chest, but underneath it is this profound, bottomless grief. It's not just about the money or the house, it's the realization that the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally saw me as nothing more than a line of credit. My entire family relationship was transactional, and I was the only one who didn't know the terms of the deal. I was paying for a sense of belonging that was never real. Clara said on the phone that she wants us to still be sisters. She suggested that maybe I could even rent one of the rooms from her for a good price. The audacity, the absolute stunning lack of awareness, is breathtaking. She sees the house as hers, a gift she received, and fails to connect it with the 20 years of my life that vanished into its walls. She thinks this is a simple family disagreement we can smooth over, not the final devastating act of a lifelong betrayal. I have to face the fact that my family is gone. My parents are gone, and the image I held of them has been shattered into a million pieces. My sister is a stranger to me, a co-conspirator in a fraud that targeted me. I am completely and utterly alone in this. There is no family to fall back on, no shared history to cherish. All of our shared memories are now tainted by this lie. Every family dinner, every holiday was a scene in a long play where I was the only one who didn't have the script. The worst part is the shame. I feel so incredibly foolish. How could I have been so blind for so long? The signs were there all along, the constant inequality, the way they always put her needs first. But I chose to ignore them. I chose to believe in the fantasy of a loving, fair family because the alternative was too painful to contemplate. Now I'm living in that alternative, and it's a cold, harsh reality. They didn't just take my money. They took my past and my trust in my own judgment. I keep replaying conversations in my head, little moments where they reassured me. My mom telling me, "Good things come to those who wait, and your reward will be great." My dad clapping me on the shoulder after I paid for the new furnace, saying, "You're a true investor, son." Except he didn't say son. He said, "You're a true investor." Looking back, it was all so carefully worded. They never explicitly said my name would be on the deed. They just let me believe it, nurturing my assumption while hiding the truth. The financial fallout is catastrophic. I'm looking at a retirement that is now a distant dream. I have debts I took on for a house I will never own. My career was stalled because I couldn't take risks or move to a new city. I had to stay close to home, the responsible one. My life's trajectory was permanently altered by their lie. It wasn't one single act of theft, but a slow, creeping drain of my resources, my energy and my future spread out over 2 decades. It was death by 1,000 financial cuts. My sister's final words on the phone call echo in my mind. "It's what Mom and Dad wanted," she said, as if that makes it right. As if their desire to favor her absolves her of any moral responsibility. She has accepted the fruits of their deception without question. She is a willing beneficiary of my ruin. There is no world in which she is an innocent party in this. She knew, and she let it happen because it benefited her tremendously. That's the simplest, ugliest truth of all. I sit here in this small apartment, surrounded by boxes I still haven't fully unpacked from my last move. It's a stark contrast to the spacious, renovated home that should have been half mine. I feel like a ghost in my own life. I did everything right. I was responsible, hard-working, and loyal. I sacrificed. And for what? To end up with nothing but a pile of papers that prove I was the biggest fool of all. The injustice is so profound it feels physical, like a weight pressing down on my chest. I wonder if they ever felt guilty. Did my parents ever lie awake at night, thinking about what they were doing to me? Or did they manage to convince themselves that what they were doing was right? That it was fair to sacrifice one child for the benefit of another? I will never know the answers, and perhaps that is the cruelest part of this entire ordeal. I am left with only the consequences of their choices, with no explanation and no possibility of closure. The path forward feels impossible to see. How do you recover from a financial blow of this magnitude at my age? How do you learn to trust anyone again after your own family has proven to be so profoundly untrustworthy? They have broken something fundamental in me, something that goes far beyond my bank account. They have destroyed my ability to believe in the basic goodness of the people you're supposed to be able to count on, no matter what. Tonight, I will start by blocking her number. I don't want to hear her justifications or her empty offers of family anymore. The family I thought I had was an illusion. It was a business arrangement where I was the sole investor and received no equity. The business is now dissolved, and I have to come to terms with the losses. It is a bitter pill to swallow, knowing I was so thoroughly and completely played for a fool by my own blood. I'm posting this here anonymously because I can't say these words out loud to anyone I know. The shame is too great. I need to tell someone, to put it out into the void, just to prove to myself that it really happened, that I'm not crazy. This financial wound is so deep it feels like it might never heal. They didn't just steal a house from me, they stole the last 20 years of my life and the future I was supposed to have. This story isn't just about a house. It is about the quiet, insidious nature of family favoritism and the devastating financial consequences it can have. It's a cautionary tale about believing in promises that are never put in writing. My parents taught me the value of hard work and responsibility, and then they used those very values to exploit me for their own ends, ensuring their favorite child would have a life of ease at the direct expense of my own. That is their true legacy. I look at the deed one last time before putting it back in the folder. My sister's name. It feels like a brand, marking me as the loser in a game I never even knew I was playing. My parents were the architects of this game, and my sister was the winner. And I was just the pawn, moved across the board to be sacrificed for the queen. It's a bitter, painful checkmate, and there are no more moves left for me to make. The lawyer said I could try to sue her for the value of the improvements I made, but it would be a long, ugly, and expensive fight with no guarantee of success. He advised against it. He said it would be throwing good money after bad. So not only have I been financially ruined, but I have no real recourse to reclaim what was stolen from me. They have left me trapped with the full weight of their betrayal pressing down on me. My entire sense of self was built on being the good daughter, the reliable one. Now I see that good and reliable were just code words for exploitable. They praised me for qualities that made their deception easier to pull off. They cultivated my sense of duty because it served their ultimate goal, to transfer my wealth and labor to my sister without her having to lift a finger. It was a masterclass in emotional and financial manipulation. I have to find a way to move on, but I don't know how. The anger is a cold, hard knot in my stomach. It feels like it could either fuel me or consume me, and I'm not sure which it will be. How do you mourn parents? Who betrayed you so completely? How do you forgive a sister who was complicit in your ruin? I don't have the answers. I only have this story, this heavy, unbearable truth. They left me with nothing but debt and the crushing realization that I was never loved for who I was, but for what I could provide. My worth to them was always conditional, always tied to my ability to pay their way and fund my sister's life. It is a heartbreakingly transactional view of family, and I was on the losing end of the transaction for 20 long years. The final balance has been calculated, and my account is empty. For anyone reading this, please learn from my mistake. Get everything in writing. Do not let love or duty blind you to your own financial well-being. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones most capable of hurting you because you would never expect the blow to come from them. My trust was my biggest vulnerability, and they exploited it to the absolute limit, leaving me with nothing but the scars and the bills. The silence in this apartment is a constant reminder of what I've lost. It's the silence of a future that was stolen, the silence of a family that never really was, and the silence of my own broken heart. I spent my life investing in a home that was never mine, and now I am homeless in more ways than one. The emotional and financial bankruptcy is absolute, and I have no idea how to even begin the process of recovery from this profound, life-altering deception. My mind keeps circling back to one question: why? Why would they do this? Were they truly that cruel, or did they tell themselves a story where their actions were justified? Perhaps they saw it as a fair distribution. Clara got the material wealth, and I got the satisfaction of being the responsible one. It's a twisted logic, but it's the only thing that makes any kind of sense. They compensated her with assets and me with empty praise. I know I need to seek some kind of therapy, but ironically, I can't afford it. The money I would use for my mental health was spent on new windows for my sister's house. It's a cruel, vicious cycle. The damage they caused requires resources to fix, but they took all my resources. They have left me wounded and disarmed, alone in the aftermath of their long and devastating campaign of financial and emotional abuse. It's a trap with no easy exit. The betrayal feels so complete, so total. It wasn't a single act, but a continuous daily deception that lasted for years. Every time they thanked me for paying a bill, they were lying. Every time they promised me a future stake in the house, they were lying. My entire adult life has been lived inside a carefully constructed lie, and now that the walls have come down, I see that I'm standing in a pile of rubble. The foundation of my world has been utterly destroyed. I have to accept that I will never get my money back. I will never get those 20 years of my life back. All I can do is try to salvage what is left of my future. It feels like an impossible task, like trying to climb a mountain with broken limbs, but I have to try. I cannot let them take anything more from me. My future has to be my own, built on my own terms, free from their influence and their lies. The immediate problem is practical. I need to find a better paying job. I need to start aggressively saving, even though it feels hopeless at this stage. I have to rebuild from scratch at an age when I should have been secure. It's a daunting prospect, and some days the weight of it feels too heavy to bear. They have set me back decades, and I have to run twice as fast just to catch up to where I should have been. Clara will likely try to reach out again, to offer some kind of hollow peace offering to assuage her guilt. But what could she possibly offer me? A room in the house I paid for, a fraction of the money I spent. There is no monetary value that can compensate for the deliberate, long-term deception and the emotional devastation it has caused. She and my parents have inflicted a wound that money cannot heal. The trust is gone forever. I wonder if she even understands the magnitude of what has happened, or does she see it through the lens of favoritism she has always known? To her, this might just be the natural order of things. She receives, and I provide. Our parents reinforced this dynamic our entire lives. She may not even be capable of seeing the profound injustice of the situation because she has always been on the winning side of the equation. Her comfort was always the priority. The hardest part of this whole thing is letting go of the hope that one day my parents would see me, truly see me, and acknowledge my sacrifices. The hope that my relationship with my sister could be one of equals. That hope is gone now, replaced by the cold, hard certainty of their betrayal. I am grieving not just for my parents, but for the family I thought we were, and the family I desperately wished we could be. So here I am, in the middle of the night, typing this out to strangers on the internet. It's a strange kind of confession, a way of bearing witness to my own life's great injustice. I don't know what I expect from this. Advice, sympathy, maybe just the knowledge that someone, somewhere, has heard my story, that the truth is out there, even if it's anonymously, in the digital ether. It feels like a small act of defiance. I need to find a way to redefine my life, outside of the role they created for me. I was never just the responsible one. I am a person with my own dreams, my own ambitions, and my own worth, independent of what I can provide for others. They tried to reduce me to a function, a means to an end. My task now is to reclaim my identity and my life, to prove to myself that my worth was never tied to that house or their approval. The road ahead is long and difficult. I know that. There will be days when the anger and the grief overwhelm me. But I have to believe that I can survive this. I survived their manipulation for 20 years. I can survive the aftermath. I have to be my own savior now, the one who pulls myself from the wreckage. I have to become the responsible one for myself and build a future that is truly my own, on a foundation of truth. This experience has been a brutal, painful education. I have learned the harshest lessons about family, money, and trust. I have seen the dark side of love, how it can be twisted and used as a tool for exploitation. I would not wish this education on my worst enemy. It is a curriculum of heartbreak and betrayal, and the tuition cost me everything I had. But the lessons are now a part of me, forever. My sister has the house, the physical bricks and mortar, but I have the truth. It is a cold comfort, but it is something. She will have to live with the knowledge of how she acquired her wealth, and I will have to live with the knowledge of my own resilience. In the end, perhaps, that is the only justice I will get. The moral high ground is a lonely, impoverished place, but it is all I have left. The story is a closed loop. They needed my money to maintain the asset they wanted to give to her. They needed my loyalty to ensure I would never question them. They needed my hope to keep me paying. It was a perfectly designed system of exploitation, and it worked flawlessly for 20 years. I was the engine, and my sister was the passenger, enjoying the ride without ever wondering about the fuel. As I sit here, the first light of dawn is breaking, a new day. It feels ironic. How can the sun rise on a world that feels so dark and broken? But it does. The world keeps turning, indifferent to my personal tragedy. I have to find a way to turn with it, to face this new day and all the days that follow, carrying the weight of this knowledge. I must find a way to build a life that is not defined by their betrayal, but by my own strength. This is my story. It's a story of financial abuse, hidden behind the facade of family love. It's about the quiet theft that can happen in the place you feel safest. I share it not for pity, but as a warning. Protect yourselves. Trust, but verify. And never ever let anyone make you feel that your worth is tied to your ability to sacrifice for their benefit. Your future is your own. Don't let anyone steal it from you.